Let's see. We are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock for the early slate that we have going here on Wednesday, April 2nd. I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me on X at Eric Lindquist. It can be a scary place. It can be a very scary place. As Chris Spags knows, he's at Chris Spags over on X. That is for sure. How you doing, my dude? Good to see you.
I'm excited to be here. It's nice to see Eric bright and early here on the West Coast. He had to wake up early to get ready. There's a lot of MLB games. We have weather concerns for a few of them. So there's a lot to dig into here. And I got to tell you, I don't want to be the pessimist on these slates. This is a slate where, I really don't feel like the matchups are screaming to me, oh, I got to attack this here. Like we talked about the Cubs versus Joey Estes, I believe the last time I did a video. That was with Greg on Monday. But, there were some spots to kind of look at there that ended up being outliers. Here today, I feel like it's a very flat slate. So maybe that means more fun to be had or something like that.
Well, your boy locked up the Baseball Cup, one of the 200 spots yesterday. So I'm going to be participating in that. It was one of those weird cues that you just I don't know. I kind of just put every lineup into every low dollar thing for the most part. And, well, there was that. And now I found out, oh, that's not until the postseason. So week one in the postseason, I'm going to play a queue. 200 spots, 10K up top, pretty decent pay structure. So cool. Got one of those. That's fun. Hopefully we get some other subs. I saw a lot of Stokastic avatars at the top of that. At the mini max, we had Josh Harris from the NHL streams. He took down the $1.50 I saw. We had a ton of lineups at the top of the $15. It's good times to be over here, friends, over in the MLB DFS streets. And once you know it, promo code CYCLE, MLB DFS. We got 2 more days here, today and tomorrow. Off ends April 3rd. Look at that. I'm good at math. But if you put promo code CYCLE in, sign up right now, you can get all of our MLB DFS goodness for $1. And then obviously it'll recur there after the offer ends on April 3rd. So check it out. You're going to want to have a companion here as we work through the Sims tool. And FanDuel has really dumb slates today. I built a ton of lineups out and I just got frustrated, just started throwing stuff against the wall. So if you have specific FanDuel questions, just ask them so we can cover them. But I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of the sharing on screen of it because the DraftKings slate is actually very clean. We have games starting at 1 p.m. Eastern time, running up till 4:05 Eastern time. So a nice 3-hour slate. We should have almost every single lineup here by the time we get to lock. But anything that stands out to you on first glance, Spags, before we dive in?
You mean it's a lot of Paul Skeens today, which obviously I'm never going to begrudge too much, but the matchup for Skeens, I think kind of like we saw on opening day, and we also saw the ownership be greatly inflated, even compared to the most aggressive ownership projections out there. People loved playing, especially casual players on opening day, loved playing Paul Skeens. As we get a little bit deeper into the season, we're going to have less casual players on every MLB slate, so I'm not sure that he gets exorbitantly owned, but he's projected for 38% right now in the Stokastic data. And look, he's Paul Skeens. He's great. We know all the stuff about him. He's a cover boy for MLB The Show. It all checks out. I get it. He's facing a team with an under-league average strikeout rate in Tampa Bay, guys that do get on base at a 340 clip against right-handed pitching. So, I don't think it's a clean Skeens matchup, and the field's willing to die there because that's, the only pitcher they know, it feels like.
Yeah, it's the only pitcher they know, but also, there's a push and pull. He pitched at LSU, so he's not unfamiliar to humidity. He's not unfamiliar to outdoor conditions, but how many times has he thrown the ball in 90-degree weather? Because again, this is our first afternoon look at Steinbrenner Field all season long. And if you haven't played MLB DFS before, or maybe you don't think about park conditions, you're just oh, tell me who to stack because we got T-Bird 3716 telling Spags to just dance for me, monkey, dance
now too. He put right now who to stack. Don't wait, no foreplay here. The Mets, right? The top stack still says the Mets. There you go, T-Bird. So
there you go. Hey, there you go. Stack, citing the tools. You can't go wrong. And then it still has a 90% chance of ruin. So that's MLB DFS for you. But it's 90 degrees at first pitch at 1:00 here in Tampa Bay, and it's not a formidable matchup to some extent, but this is an analytically forward Tampa Bay team that's going to try to do things in counts to try to not make it the easiest of rides here for Paul Skeens. The wind's blowing out towards the left field post too. So a couple of righties maybe hitting some pulls, and it can look very, very different. But at the same time, every number that you look at from last season for Paul Skeens just has him at the top of the class of this entire slate. And you work through the numbers here. We have him. We have Tariq Skubal, both of them pulling quite a bit of ownership here. And I think rightfully so. Obviously, Skubal in the best pitchers park you could possibly be in. So if you want to just talk like the quality of pitchers with those two, there's no doubt they're both elite. But you brought it up before. I think the public pushes Paul Skeens a little bit more. And I look at this as like, well, we have Skubal for like less than 2 fantasy points difference. He has the way easier matchup. He has the way better game environment. So am I crazy for wanting to get to a little bit more Skubal when it's all said and done, Spags?
No, I mean, I think that makes sense. I think the hard part for me, and I'm basically with the field on Skeens, got 37% of my top 150 compared to the field's 38%. So like, I don't have a big anti-Skeens stand here, but it does feel like there's a possibility here in a slate of this size. We get Skeens at 50% owned because people just want to cram him in. And I'm with you that just playing other guys, like my favorite pitcher in the slate, and there's some mild weather concerns with Pablo Lopez, I think is kind of interesting at his price tag. Couldn't get him with Skeens in the sim, but I do think he's a pitcher that stands out. Like, I think there are ways to go to here, at least a few pitchers, Skubal being a more obvious option as a pivot point. But like, there are guys who are okay that can have a decent strikeout day, that have better matchups. And I think Skeens is like, he's the top prospect of baseball, one of the guys we've been looking for years for a reason. But at a certain point, the ownership is too high. And especially in MLB, where I don't think Tampa Bay lights him up or anything, but if he gives you like 22 fantasy points, you're probably in a range where you're not really gaining anything by playing him.
Jake DeWitt, did Eric forget Skeens pitched in the swamp at LSU? Literally brought that up at the start of the program. And then I asked him, did you listen to me at the start? Jesus, dude. He goes, not really, kind of zoned out, TBH. So, I mean, shout out Jake DeWitt for actually a perfect comeback when it's all said and done. Also, it's not too early for all caps because I am caffeinated. I'm having matcha lattes, and I'm here to give you MLB DFS advice. So that's what we're going to do, Spags. Good morning.
Look, you're pumped up here. How could you not be pumped up with gambling at 9 a.m. on the West Coast on a Wednesday?
It's better than waiting till 4 p.m. every single day for the NBA streets like I have been for 5 months, 6 months. What am I supposed to do? I can't play Poker Stars, go on Bovada, go try to go play in the poker rooms there. What am I supposed to do? I do tail Ben Raza and tails and watch some soccer in the mornings. That kind of gets me through it, but I'm also a sick person.
Yes, that I can confirm. The puppet can also confirm if we needed to.
For those who don't know, if you guys hit the like button, good things can happen throughout this program. I don't know. Where should I set the barometer? 200 likes? I think 200 likes is enough to hoard out, but I also want to be easy on Chris Spags' voice because he did an entire April Fool's show as Puppet Lindquist yesterday. If you guys don't know, go follow Splash Play NBA over on the YouTube streets. Chris Spags, I'm going to have to go back and check that one out. Yesterday was a pretty busy day with MLB, with NBA, with everything simultaneously. Didn't get a chance to check it out, but you should be checking it out right now. But after you get done watching us, of course, let's continue talking through some of this because I don't think Paul Skeens, Tariq Skubal, I don't think it's like that big of a conversation piece. They're both really, really good, but this is now where it gets a little bit more fun for me. We got Dylan Cease there. 9,300. We've got ourselves a little Luis Castillo in that same game environment that we like so much for Tariq Skubal. 6.5 implied run total. The run total is actually a little bit smaller than on the Detroit side because of that lineup. And then you've got yourself Freddie Peralta. We have so many guys to comb through here on the expensive end. So before we go dumpster diving, who else is showing up in your lineups here at the top end?
I mean, we could talk about Skubal some more. I think you had very intelligently pointed him out as a pivot point to Skeens relative to these guys having similar price tags on the DK slate. And Skubal, I'm getting, 25%, feels at 27, so not really a big stand there, but he will be another key part of my portfolio overall, and certainly not a lot of Skubal and Skeens lineups occurring together. I mean, Skubal's stuff, I think, he's certainly not got the pedigree of Skeens, not the branding of Skeens. You're talking about a guy with a 51% chase rate over the last couple seasons, 15% swing strike rate, not getting barreled at a high rate, under 7%, hard hit rates low. He's facing a team today, 4 guys that strike out above league average for Seattle, but low implied run total for them with 3.7 implied runs. So I think for Skubal, I feel pretty good about his prospects overall in the spot. As a guy that doesn't really give up too much dangerous stuff like a Freddie Peralta does. We talked about that previously on a slate where he gives up a lot of dangerous power, even though the strikeout stuff is good. For Skubal, you're talking about a player who's getting 11.5 Ks per 9, 32% K rate versus right-handed pitching. And we facing mostly righties today. Against lefties, it's a little bit weaker, but he's not going to get strafed by him. So I think Skubal, to me, feels like he's got a pretty good floor, pretty good ceiling. So I think he'd be a very obvious one to go to here. And Top Pitchers Tool also has him at an 18.3% chance being one of the top 2. So that doesn't hurt too much either.
Yeah, doesn't hurt whatsoever. I just love the game environment for him. And obviously the matchup is just fantastic. I think this is a really good slate to be pretty flat at pitching. We're getting a second look at almost everybody here. We're getting the elite pitchers, your aces at the top end. This is not the kind of slate where I want to get crazy off the board going way, way cheap. There's one guy that I think is actually pretty interesting, and we'll get to that. And that's ironically in a terrible game environment that I kind of besmirched for Paul Skeens. But Dylan Cease, we've got up here, pulling quite a bit of ownership at 9,300. Tariq Skubal right behind it. But look how flat this ownership is in my top 150 in the Sims tool. We have Skeens pulling 34% ownership, so a little bit under the field in the top 150. And I did this just kind of building on my usual stacks. I try to replicate the field. You can kind of toy with what you want to do as far as like more stack exposure. If you want to just play 5-mans, you can line up filter out. You can literally say stack type, and you can literally filter out to just those. But the more that I've played MLB DFS and having success already early in this season, I do like involving some of the 4-4s. You know, most of these are 5-man sitting at the top. 3-3-2, that's becoming a more popular stack type from last year because there's obviously some bats that you're able to get, some expensive bats that 5-mans of certain expensive stacks just aren't going to get you. But back to the pitchers. As we work down, Dylan Cease, San Diego here. This Cleveland lineup, like in the past, years past, Spags, we've had Cleveland really strikeout immune, if you will. Is this going to be a year now where this Cleveland lineup, just kind of looking at the construction of it, and we're waiting for, I believe, the exact lineup to roll out here. We got a lot of strikeouts with potentially Nolan Jones, Bo Naylor at the catcher position, Gabriel Arias at the back half of that lineup, even Stephen Kwan at around 18%. Like, I don't think he's going to be somebody who strikes out even at like a 20% clip, but he's generally been like way down yonder, sub 15%, like very strikeout immune at the top of that lineup. How do you feel about Dylan Cease, especially? Because I'm kind of having a tough time figuring out what I want to do with him.
Yeah, I'm actually getting a good amount more in the field of him, getting 29%. So he'd be my other key kind of pay up option guy today, though not quite as expensive as Skubal and Skeens. But $9,300 salary, you are basically paying up for him to get there. But I think the price tag works well enough. The park factor is certainly going to favor them as well, with San Diego taking away enough in terms of runs, hits, OBP, basically everything besides home runs. So to me, I think Cease looks okay. I think the matchup, like you mentioned, is not great. You're talking about a team that this lineup in particular versus righties striking out about league average, 22.7%, a WRC plus of 101. Like they're, to me, like a flat average team. It's not like you're gaining a big advantage by going against them, where sometimes you take a shitty pitcher against an offense that can't get going. You could find those guys being useful. Cease, you kind of have to rely on his talent to get there. And I don't think he's as good as Skubal and Skeens, which, you know, that's why you're getting the price decrease. The chase rate's lower at about 47%. Swinging strike rate's a little bit lower as well, about 14%. He does give up some dangerous power to left-handed bats in particular, and he will be facing a good amount of them up top here. You got actually 3 lefties up top, 2 switch hitters in the top 5. So maybe that makes Cease more of a risk, and maybe that makes him a guy, if you are playing above the field, you'll get some Cleveland stacks. But I think the park factors in Cleveland's run total here being only 3.3, you would think it's probably a decent Cease spot. And if he hits the strikeout upside, 12.1 Ks per 9 versus righties, it's just a lot of lefties in this lineup he's going to be facing today, it looks like.
Yeah, now we get into like the weather bunch of pitchers, I would call it. Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, different spots. Obviously, Minnesota played St. Louis. Did not go well for my Twins in that first series, but playing independent spots. The Angels in St. Louis, Minnesota in Chicago. Both of these are weather games to some extent. I think everything else on the entire slate is pretty darn clean. Now, we got a late start here from Minnesota. I think St. Louis is going to play pretty clean, just kind of looking at the radar on the Google machine. Again, google.com is actually incredible. You should try it sometime. But Sonny Gray, 7,800 for him. Decent enough strikeout stuff. And obviously an LA Angels matchup that long-term I think is going to be a very, very positive one for strikeouts. You look at both of these pitchers pulling quite a bit of ownership. I do want to get some confirmation, but like, obviously we'll get the game locked for Minnesota a little bit earlier than the rest of the slate, but we'll have a little bit of extra time there. An hour after lock here, basically 45 minutes. Plus, you're going to be having a playback show with Laufey and Greg Ehrenberg that can kind of cover everything here for it. But I'm going to ask you about those two pitchers and also bring up the weather here because it's our first real look at weather influencing an MLB slate. Do you have any concerns with St. Louis or Chicago with the weather? And then Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, pulling right around 20% ownership. Do you have any kind of like a stand that you're making on either one of them?
So Sonny Gray, I got 2x the field. I am a little bit worried about the weather there. One of the primary weather experts out there who works for another company that we all know, but I feel
Ooh,
like I still shouldn't say the name. Schmevin
ooh.
Schmoth.
Oh, yeah, Schmoth is a nice guy. It's fine.
Seems like a lovely guy, but he doesn't work here, so we don't cite the work too much. But does do a good job of the weather for the most part. I think he said that the Angels game has the highest risk of postponement. Also a chance to that the weather there makes it a little bit more favorable for the hitters. So that's something that does worry me a little bit. Having 2x a field for Sonny Gray, it does seem like though on the other side of the coin that Pablo Lopez, the White Sox game expected to go, could be in a delay. There's a chance there could be some scattered showers that maybe make a few minor delays throughout. But the worst case scenario would be like it goes pretty late, but he doesn't think they'd be delayed entirely. Whereas this one apparently has a shot of being fully delayed. So it's one of those things where, people have been spoiled by the MLB lineups coming up early and they're like, oh, well, it's all like NBA. We don't have to worry about it. The weather stuff is the thing where you run into some traps a little bit on it. So I would say for Sonny Gray, I don't mind the matchup, but having the confidence, I think that Pablo Lopez is going to go. Like I like Lopez a lot. I think Sonny Gray stuff is perfectly fine, but Lopez in his matchup, I mean, you're talking about a guy with a 51% chase rate, 14% swing strike rate towards the higher end of the slate, doesn't get barreled a lot, doesn't get hard hit a lot. He's also facing a White Sox team that's given up 7 guys in that lineup, striking out above league average, about a 26.4% cumulative K rate for that lineup. So I think it's a really clean match for Pablo Lopez, and he's been good the last few years. So he'll be one of my bigger stands on the slate. But I think that Sonny Gray, perfectly credible too. I would just personally prefer Pablo Lopez.
We got an update from Schmanden Schmoth, actually, which is interesting. Schmevin Schmoth. He's downgrading everything here in Chicago once again. So it is looking worse than what it did before. I'm pulling up the Google machine again as well. I always like to use airports. This is something that I don't know why I've never brought up for years, but actually, I think I brought it up a couple times last year, but I like to use airports for weather because one, generally they're very close to MLB parks, and two, if you can't trust weather at an airport, we probably have issues in the world that are bigger than my MLB and NBA DFS lineups and things of that nature. Because let me tell you, you better be accurate with weather when you're landing a freaking plane with 250 passengers.
Got a few layoffs there, Eric. I don't know if you heard. It's been one of those things. Maybe it changes a little bit.
We're gonna have Jordan Klein calling the weather in LAX. That's great.
Schmorden's mine.
Jordan's mine. Everybody knows I love that man. I love him very much.
We both do.
That will never change for any of us. Yeah, it's definitely going to be more concerning now, obviously, than what it was before. If they're going to sit there, they can do a doubleheader right off the bat tomorrow. Let me just take a look at the travel schedule because this is the kind of shit that we're doing on Live Before Lock. F it, we'll do it live, Spags. Plus, you're going to have the playback show coming on after us here. Houston and Minnesota tomorrow. So, yeah, obviously they're divisional foe, though. That's the whole point, is that they can make it up as a doubleheader anytime that they want for Minnesota and the White Sox. Like, they're going to have 48 other opportunities the rest of the year. So, like, if it's going to be really, really bad and they have to sit around all day and Minnesota's traveling to Houston tomorrow, yeah, you're going to have some more escalated risk here firing this one up, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, so like I read the article and apparently it changed within the span of an hour because I did all my prep here. I'm like, I feel good. I'm reading things about weather. But it does seem like it's moved a little bit. Look, I think it's one of those spots for me where I'm going to be ready to late swap around a little bit here. I like Lopez enough that I want to take the shot. Obviously, if we get closer to lock time and the weather is not clearing up in any way, or it seems like we're cruising more towards very late start that could lead to a postponement. And as Eric mentioned, the travel stuff is certainly a consideration there. It's a little bit more for my brain function to handle than I'd like to have here. I just like to be able to pick pitchers and go like, this guy looks good. I think Pablo Lopez looks great, but I think if you want to adjust for the weather concerns, maybe you knock him down a little bit. And I'm okay dying with the fields 20% if nothing else.
So let me show the people how you go about changing this in the Sims tool, because I do think it's the easiest of any template of any tool in all of baseball, all of MLB DFS, that is. You go to the team controls, that little button there at the top of the screen. We're just going to rotate down here. And just for the hell of it, because, well, I do think it's very, very risky, and it's simply one game environment, I'm happy to remove both of those there. I think with enough games on the slate like this, it's kind of an unnecessary risk. Like Pablo Lopez would really have to nuke the slate. The Twins would really have to nuke the slate against the White Sox. So I just remove both of them. I set the team controls, and I'm going to build out a new 5,000 pool, generate lineups. and we'll have some new lineups on the screen that won't have any pieces of that game. So it can be as simple as that for you to be able to go in and change it. Obviously, if you want to keep it involved because you are risk immune, sounds great. But with enough games on today's slate, I'm happy to remove it and just kind of start at a new base level, plus some of that ownership that's coming in on Pablo Lopez, some of the ownership coming in on the Twins side. Happy to remove that, go to some other game environments. But as that's reloading here, I want to go into this mid-range of pitcher. And we have a lot of different guys that we've already seen this season. I mean, we still have Luis Castillo, who I think is a very intriguing option. Freddie Peralta up the upper nines. But as we get into the lower eights, Framber Valdez going up against San Francisco, that is a feast or famine matchup for sure. Cole Reagan, Sonny Gray in that St. Louis game environment that I think is going to be okay. All of these guys sitting right around 10, 11, 12% ownership. And right below it is Mackenzie Gore coming off of infinity strikeouts and nobody's clicking on him. I'll click on Mackenzie Gore's Spags if nobody else wants to, coming off of that strikeout performance opening day. This mid-range has a lot of options. They're better than your average mid-range on a regular MLB DFS slate. Is anybody intriguing to you that's pulling lower ownership?
So actually, I feel the exact opposite way about Mackenzie Gore, where I think it's a little bit of a trap after he had the outlier day. I mean, this is part of me having to train my brain more for MLB, where it's something I know from having done it for years, for content on Stokastic and in general, obviously playing as well. Compared to the NBA, where I think in NBA, you can find smaller sample size stuff, find a little bit of an edge to it because people are afraid of taking that smaller sample. For MLB, everything does come down to that larger sample of, seeing about 550 batters, or 550 at bats for most of the players. For Gore, I mean, you look at the underlying numbers the last couple of years, guy who's not getting strikeouts at a crazy rate, 26%. It's not bad. I would say it's close to average. 10 Ks per nine versus righties, 10 and change versus lefties. Like, it's all okay. It's basically a lineup today, though, where only one guy strikes out above average. The team overall, 19% cumulative K rate. I just don't think it's the easy spot to get to Gore again and to want to chase it, because like people will see that box score. I think there'll be more people that chase it than the ownership that Stokastic has right now. Gore at only 3.7%. So I'm fading him. Only got him in 0.5% of lineups. So basically not playing him at all. He's an okay play, but like not one that I don't know. I just worry about people seeing that result because it was such an outlier day for him. And I just don't think he's that guy.
Yeah, and the Phillies are going to strike out a lot for what it's worth. They're very, very potent as an offense. They're also going to be a strikeout matchup. It's kind of the way I felt about the Yankees last year. We'll see if that ends up being the Yankees this year, but like you're going to have big strikeout bats and you're also going to have big issues as far as like running into the bats. Why is NBA news coming in right now? I don't need that in my life. I really, really don't need NBA news in my life.
Noah Clowney's done for the year. It's huge. It's huge for Drew Timmy, if nothing else.
I'm so very happy to see Drew Timmy showing up in life. Miles Bridges now questionable. Okay, that one actually matters. If I were on my phone right now, I would be on Profit X or Novig, and I would be click, 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 anything I could against Charlotte. Not that they are, replacement level guys. Taj Gibson questionable. What is it? Stop it, NBA.
He hasn't even played. I thought he wasn't even on the roster anymore.
I'm just glad he's alive. I mean,
that's true. USC guy. Right on.
USC guy, 48 minutes a night for Tibbs for like 20 years. That's not good on the knees. Anyway, also not good on the knees playing catcher at the MLB position, where you're going to have to be catching for some of these goobers that are on the lower end. And there's one in particular. I brought him up a little bit earlier. I'm very interested in Ryan Pepio, and this is purely because this Pittsburgh Pirates team is so brutal right now. I don't think Ryan Pepio is going to be like elite, but 26.3% K rate over the course of last season. He's kind of quote unquote their ace right now with Shane McClanahan on the shelf. I think Pittsburgh is just such a good matchup that even though the game environment isn't exactly what you're going for, I find him to be the most intriguing. And I'm curious if I got as much as what I got beforehand, because I was finagling his ownership a little bit and him in the Sims tool before we started this show. Now that we got all this weather and I removed that, it's probably going to put some things into disarray. But if I were going to go out and boost one pitcher here on this slate, I think it would be him, although he is showing up yet again in double-digit lineups for me. So Ryan Pepio, yay, nay, indifferent?
I'm mostly indifferent. I got him at 7%, Fields at 9%. So like I don't have a big stand there. I get what you're saying. The matchup doesn't look bad. 5 guys that strike out above league average in the lineup today. For Pittsburgh, 23.3% cumulative strikeout rate. So a little bit above average. Pepio himself averaging over 9 Ks per 9 versus both sides of the plate. So I think that's a positive for him. A little bit of risk with the barrel ball rate. 9% be one of the higher marks on the slate, but I don't think Pittsburgh has the dangerous power you're super worried about with only a 148 ISO going for them. I could see it. I think Pepio, I think the main thing that would stand out is like, I assume he's stretched out enough. And I think that could be a thing where if he does get through these guys pretty cleanly, that could be a way for him to extend here and pick up a few more Ks along the way. I personally boosted Pablo Lopez. So I think I got him as my SP2 more, and that would take me away from a Pepio, but not a bad projection. I don't mind him. I think he's as good as anybody else on the slate for sure.
Sunflower, Eric Lindquist deserves a raise and or promotion. Finally, somebody with some sense in YouTube chat. I love it. Absolutely. Things you love to see. Sunflower in the morning, sunflower at night, sunflower all the time. I promise it's not my burner. Anyway, definitely feel pretty indifferent towards a lot of the other guys that are showing up, pulling some ownership there. You can see Clay Holmes actually in 16% of lineups in my first run here with the Sims. Sonny Gray, 7,800. But I got two guys as well that I want to cover. And one, I just wish he was showing up a little bit more. I probably won't boost him. It's a tough spot. This ballpark, combined with the fact that the Cubs, I think, are going to have, they're favorites in the division coming into the season. They got Kyle Tucker even left on left doing insane things. But Jeffrey Springs is really, really quality. Just don't think I can take the shot here today. I will probably end up boosting Mackenzie Gore when it's all said and done on my other screen, because sharing the Sims tool here with you now. I've got my little personal side piece over here that I'm going to be getting down.
Me? Am I your side piece?
Oh no, you are the main attraction, my friend. But then Easton Lucas, I was very, very confused. Now I was getting around 3-4% earlier in my top 150. I like seeing like one lineup of him here though. But flat 4K pitcher, I don't think this is the slate where we really have the batters that have like the expensive tags that we really have to go get. But it's at least fascinating to see a 4K pitcher that is somewhat stretched out. He actually was available as a bullpen arm, just didn't get utilized the last couple of days. He's getting that back end start here for the Toronto Blue Jays, and flat 4K generally does a ton for you in MLB DFS if they're lengthened out. It's a Washington matchup that isn't all that imposing, but look how much ownership is coming in on Washington from the Sims tool. It is definitely the stack that I'm the most overweight to by far. Is there any kind of reason that we should be getting to a 4K Easton Lucas today, Spags?
I get the 4K price tag, and I think that's sort of thing we talk about a lot. It's not quite the same as an NBA where you have the 3K player that's guaranteed a ton of run, and you pretty much should always play him. Delano Banton, for the people that played the NBA slate yesterday, wasn't 3K, but close enough. Yeah, it's not that same principle, I think, for MLB, but I get what you're saying with it. I think in this particular slate as well, he's just a different price tag than everybody else in play. I personally prefer Jeffrey Springs because he's got like nasty stuff, tougher matchup, but like Easton Lucas to me, I don't see a lot here. He's only faced about 100 batters so far, but 8% swing strike rate towards the lowest end of the slate, 37% chase rate towards the lowest end, not getting barreled too much at 5%, but even versus lefties, he's been really bad so far, giving up a 220 ISO, which is one of the worst marks on the slate versus lefties, only about 40 at bats, but it's not looking great for him versus lefties. It is a lefty heavy Washington lineup, but 4.4 implied runs for Washington. Like, I think Easton Lucas feels a little trappy to me, whereas Springs, like, really good stuff on Springs for a limited sample. So I can see taking that shot, but they're not really the price tag, so it's not even the same conversation.
The boss man, Greg Ehrenberg, showing up there in chat, just dropping by to let the people know it. Again, I'll let you know yet again. I brought it up a couple times already. Lofty, Greg Ehrenberg, going to be live on playback in 31 minutes. You don't have to go anywhere if you go to playback.tv/Stokastic. Look at that. I can remember stuff too. Playback.tv/Stokastic. That link that he just put into chat. They're going to be covering bets, watching games, because MLB is live on playback. It's good times right now. If you head over there, I am sharing the lovely Portfolio EV. And Portfolio EV, friends, 7-day free trial going on right now at the link below. You want to be utilizing it here because we've got NBA bets. We've got college basketball bets for the weekend. We're going to have MLB bets as we are updating everything here in version 2. Yes, version 2 of the lovely Portfolio EV tool, which has made people hand over fist. Money hand over fist. I don't even know what that means, Spags, but it means that they made money hand over fist because, well, you got an amazing market-based tool that is identifying the true odds at sharp sports books and helping you find value no matter which book you have access to, no matter what state you live in. So a 7-day free trial available at the link below. You want to be checking that out for sure. All right. Why did my screen go so small? Oh, it's okay. It's big in my heart. Anything else at pitcher? Because you say Kikuchi. I think some slates I'll roll the dice on him. I don't think we really have to on today's slate. In St. Louis, I would much rather get to the Sonny Gray side of things for a little bit more. And I think you gave me the go ahead on Jeffrey Springs. Is he somebody you're getting to double-digit percentage of? Because I love Jeffrey Springs as a pitcher. This is just a brutal spot in what might be a brutal ballpark going forward.
Yeah, the matchup scares me enough here. I didn't get him naturally with the sim. The projection's not terribly high at 13.7 from Stokastic. So the $7,500 salary, you're not going to quite get there. But to me, he feels like, and again, I'm not going to keep touting my one call I got right in opening day, but Sean Burke kind of feels like that, where it's like, it's a guy that's not coming up naturally. I think the underlying numbers look good. As mentioned for Springs, 52% chase rate, 14% swing strike rate. So we're talking towards the higher end of things, 32% K rate overall. Hasn't faced enough batters to feel great about those numbers, but a 220 batters face for it. The issue is he's going against a Cubs lineup that versus lefties, 340 on base percentage towards the higher end of the slate, 190 ISO, getting towards the higher end of the slate, striking under league average versus lefties at 19.2%. It's one of those things for me, Eric, where I sometimes struggle, where it's like the pitcher's got good stuff, the lineup's also good. What do you do? It's sort of how I feel about Skeens too, where it's like, yeah, Skeens is great, but that's a lineup that's not meant to like, bend over and just let them kind of get what they want. I think it's the same thing for the Cubs here, where like the Cubs are going to make it hard on them, but Springs has got stuff. And if you're looking for a cheaper guy, 7,500, 3% owned, if he has a meaningful day here and beats out this lineup, like I think it's worth some exposure, more than 3%.
A lot of people asking about the weather again. Obviously, this is live before lock. We want to cover that for you. St. Louis, I'm giving it the yay here for right now. I don't think it's going to have any issues with starting pitching. I think your issue is, do you get the full allotment of innings on the back half of this? Because it looks like in 2.5, 3 hours, we're going to start seeing the rain come in and some of the other issues that are popping up there in St. Louis. Again, that's 3 hours, carry the one. Yeah, they should have 2 hours. So the nice thing about being able to predict like what's going to happen with the weather, with the pitch clock, we're seeing such faster games that like if you're looking at those late innings, like a year or two ago, we might have had some issues. Yeah, 2 years plus ago, we would have had some issues with that game. I don't think we're going to have any issues with it here today. So you're going to want to fire that up. But let's talk single entry just to round it out for the people. Your favorite two pitchers for it, if you're building out single entry for today.
If you're willing to be risk embracing like I am, I would say still Pablo Lopez for me. Skeens, I think, but really for single entry, I'd consider Scooball more. But you might be getting loaned enough with Pablo. I'd go Skeens and Pablo if you can. And then Washington and Mets would be my preferred stacks, I think, if you can get there. But it might not work perfectly with that grouping of pitchers.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about Clay Holmes, not somebody that we've really brought up all that much. I do think that he'll end up being a little bit more popular at 7K. I'm having a tough time purely because like you look at the Miami lineup and it's just straight up brutality. I don't think anybody's going to question that portion of it, but like, I don't love the strikeout rates so far. I mean, Matt Mervis, Derek Hill, like, I'm not sure what to make of it. Like Nick Fortes is going to strike out more than that going forward. Kyle Stowers is probably going to be around like 25% when it's all said and done. He's been a little bit north of that so far, but as bad as some of these guys are, Eric Wegeman, I don't think is going to be great. He's, been batting like cleanup basically the last couple of days, but Xavier Edwards not going to strike out a ton. Griffin Conine not going to strike out a ton. I just don't know if there's enough upside there relative to some of the other pitchers. And Clay Holmes, one thing you have to remember is the strikeout rate for bullpen arms goes way down once they become starters because they can't come out and just fireball it for an inning. So I do expect a drastic decrease to his strikeout rate with his pitch mix and with the velocity dip. But what do you feel about Clay Holmes just to round out the conversation?
I'm with the field on Clay Holmes, technically a little bit above it, got 11% fields that are rounded up 10%. So like, I'm not like what I'm going to say here is not necessarily an indoctrination on him. It's just the way these slates work. But for him, the strikeout stuff, like Eric mentioned, is not fantastic overall, 25.7% rate. And it should come down in that he's going to be a fully stretched out starter and clearly a guy that they're going to value as a top of the line starter as well. The big thing that I worry about for him is like, he's really bad versus lefties, giving up only a 21% or getting only a 21% strikeout rate as opposed to 30% versus righties. Facing a lineup today with 4 lefties and 1 switch hitter, potentially for Miami. So you're getting kind of a less good version of him in this spot. And a guy that's also not great with the K stuff anyway. He doesn't get guys to chase too much, only a 40% rate, towards the lower percentile of the slate. 11% swing strike rate, also with the lower percentile. The matchup itself would be soft. If you gave me any other righty with good stuff, you gave me Paul Skeens this matchup, I'd probably go to it again. But on paper here, I just don't see Clay Holmes being that. Like, I don't think he kills you because like he's not getting a ton of fly balls, very much a ground ball pitcher, but he's not going to give you the strikeout upside I think you need to win a tournament.
Yeah, I think what the Sims tool is really telling us today is that there are a lot of guys with a lot of strikeout upside. And if you're playing single entry, you're obviously identifying two of them that you want to be firing up. Clay Holmes is one of those guys that I think fits more into like the large field mix. I definitely think he's somebody that against the Miami Marlins can pitch deeper into the game, can definitely find some success. But like, look how many strikeout arms we have. There's nobody pulling more than 35% ownership in my top 150 lineups. I'm just kind of flat across the entire board with them. There's certain guys that I have favor with, like Tariq Skubal. I'm going to be north of this number, but like the average simulated ROI, there's nobody that you're getting an edge on with pitcher really. And that's where I'm like, all right, if I end up underweight to Clay Holmes, like if I end up underneath the 10%, I'm just fine because that's getting absorbed, by Ryan Pepio, by Yusei Kikuchi, by guys that, are $400 more than the 7K tag, but like I think carry just as much, if not more, strikeout upside. So I definitely am okay just being underneath the Holmes piece. My two guys for single entry today, Tariq Skubal, Ryan Pepio. I'm going to fire at Pepio. I understand it's a great game environment. And then large field, I will find myself on to some Pittsburgh. Anything else at pitcher for you, Spags, before we go to stacks?
I do like Cole Ragans again. He was pretty good the last time that we had him on a slate. And I think for him too, facing a Milwaukee team striking about 25.2% of the time against lefties. Again, Ragans stuff is pretty good. Not getting barreled at too high of a rate at 6%. Hard hit rate's only 35%. Swing strike rate, chase rate also good at 14% and 47% respectively. I think he's got good stuff here. He's facing a good amount of righties, and he's been actually very good against righties as well. 31% K rate versus them, 11.2 Ks per nine. So I'm team Cole Ragans here. I think he's a little bit too cheap at 8,100. Got him at about 20%, feels at 14.
All right. We've got ourselves 22 minutes. Plenty of time to talk stacks. Is there a projected lineup in the tool on the site? No, there is not, but we have all of the lineups getting updated for you directly into the Sims Plus. Technically where it is on the site, you go to the data hub here, projected batting lineup position. We will put it in for you. So that's awfully nice for us. So if you go to whichever team and you want to just basically say, filter it out, let's go to, which team do we want to go to? Is there a team? There's a stack that you are interested in today, Spags, right off the bat?
The Mets, I'm a chalk donkey, I guess, with the top stacks. But the Mets stand out.
I guess I don't know why you're neighing. I don't know. Me and Luca need to learn animal sounds together, apparently. But we will put the projected batting order in for you, and then it will become the official batting order as they come in. You can see over on the left side of the screen, you've got everybody rolling on in, and obviously the filter team, I screwed that up. Let's not worry about that. Let's just jump back over to this because otherwise I'll lose my spot. And then it's the apocalypse. So here we are. Let's talk stacks, Spags, because I think there are tons of viable ones. Number one, it's afternoon baseball. We're going to get some nicer game environments in some of these outdoor spots than what we've gotten previously playing evening games in the Northeast and some of these other spots. We also have a 90-degree game environment with Skeens and Pepio, two quality pitchers, but sometimes you have an opportunity to let that kind of take hold. If you're playing one lineup to rule them all, one lineup to find them, again, I like the single entry example, are the New York Mets still your go-to stack on today's slate?
I think so. They're not the highest leverage stack in the world. In fact, they seem pretty appropriately owned. The top stack still has their ownership at 13.3%. The chance of being a top stack at 13.6%. So you're not gaining a lot there. You're talking about, I think, the only team on the slate with over a 5 implied run total. And you're going against Connor Gillespie, who is getting hit really hard, not getting guys to chase, not getting guys to swing. One of the lowest swing strike rates on the slate, one of the lowest chase rates, one of the highest barreled ball rates. But he hasn't really shown the results yet in terms of ISO. He's not given up a lot of production yet. So it seems to me like he's due for sort of a back-breaking day to come up. He's going against a Mets team that's got about a 200 ISO in this lineup here versus right-handed pitching. Does strike out a little bit more than average, 24.6%, but can get on base at about 330, 112 WRC plus. I think the Mets look strong here. Obviously, the total backs it out. So I feel pretty good about it, but it does feel like you're not sneaking up at anybody here, taking the team with the highest total here by about 0.8 runs.
I'm in an alignment with the Sims tool today. My favorite stat coming in was Washington. It will still be Washington, I think, no matter what. Easton Lucas last season across 3 teams he was with, 6.36 xFIP. That is by far the worst number that we are looking at on the entire slate. In fact, if you go to Fangraphs and you group it just by xFIP on any of the probable pitchers, which you can go to the scores tab, probable pitchers, and you can have all of the data. You go to the advanced tab and you group by xFIP. He is sandwiched between Ben Rortvedt, Ernie Clement, Jose Trevino, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. You know what's interesting about those 4? They're position players. So, yeah, that's bad, Spags.
Yeah, no, it's not where you want to be ranked normally. Look, I said Easton Lucas Sue would be a guy that I'd want to target. I did when I was hand selecting some lineups, and for what it's worth, if people want to do some things with the Sims for building only a handful of lineups in a big tournament, what I try to do is either select my pitcher in stacks, and just take whatever the best Sim lineups are that feel good to me. So that way you have some control, but you're still kind of defaulting to the Sim a little bit. I went to Mets and Washington stacks like as much as I could. Pablo Lopez with them was my preferred kind of pairing to put together. But yeah, Lucas giving up a lot of production, giving up a heavy ISO already when he's only faced about 36 left-handed batters with a 220 ISO allowed to lefties. And again, he's facing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lefties / switch hitters going against him. I don't know. For Easton Lucas, I think there's a spot for him to get dinged today. And yeah, I agree. Like attacking him seems like a good move.
Yeah, it feels like the right move, and the Sims tool is definitely echoing that out. We are up in a game environment up in the Northeast, that being Canada, good opportunity here with the wind blowing across the field. I doubt they're going to have the stadium open. Or sorry, they can't really have it open. It's going to be raining. So it is definitely going to be a closed stadium there. Good game environment. Decent enough ballpark. Yeah, give me the Washington righties especially, but I have no problem with the lefties with James Wood, with Nathan Lau, but like specifically Dylan Cruz. I expect to be batting up higher in the lineup against a lefty in Easton Lucas. This guy is not good. He's 4K. Other slates we would be taking that shot on Easton Lucas. This is not going to be that slate for me, but we've got a ton of contrarian stacks to kind of mix and match into it as well. Are there some stacks that are showing up for you more than the field right now?
I did get a crazy amount of Washington, got 28% there. In terms of 5-man stacks, I was getting still a good amount of 3-man and 4-mans as well. I'm scrolling through a little bit here because I have to make a new page to be able to sort this.
Oh, no.
Knowing my plight of having to make new Excel sheets.
Oh, no. And here's the thing is now I can't just dick around over here. Like sometimes I'm just like, just clicking around on other shit. Now I'm screen sharing the Sims and I'm like trying to be a professional, and I got to keep my composure over here. It's like, oh, so no, Spags, you have to open another window. Oh, no.
No, I have to create the page so it'll all line nicely and I can reference it quickly. But got a lot of St. Louis. I got 15% 5-man stacks for St. Louis. Yeah, we talked about the weather there potentially being a benefit. Should be a humid day. In St. Louis's park, so I think that's a positive for them. Besides that, yeah, the ones I prioritized making sure I got were Washington, which you're going to get natural with the Sim anyway. Going on my way to get the Mets. I have to swap some Mets too because Jose Siri is not in the lineup, unfortunately. But yeah, I think Mets, Nationals ones I'm going on my way to get. St. Louis one I got fed a lot of, which I'm comfortable with, even though it wasn't a personal choice.
Wasn't a personal choice. I'm throwing this one more time in for the playback people. Playback.tv/Stokastic. Again, after this show, once we're done, we are going to turn it over. Not to anything blank on the screen on MLB TV. No, you're going to get Greg Ehrenberg and Lofty himself covering MLB for another hour plus. If you guys want to go kick it and watch some games, have MLB TV set up. Maybe go ask for a premium sub. You can do a lot of stuff over there on the old playback. I just posted this link from there. That was useful. But check it out, friends. It is very, very lovely time to have MLB DFS back in our lives as well as some MLB bets over populating in the Portfolio EV tool. But I'm working through some of these lineups. I'm going to save these top 150 here again. I gave one more run here and somebody asked, oh, are we going to update things? Yeah, we're going to update as lineups get rolled in nonstop throughout the day in all of the slates, not just this one, not just the main, but in absolutely everything that we're looking at. But I'm looking at stack boosts. Is there anybody that you're boosting in the Sims to get to? Because I have one team specifically that's not really showing up that I definitely want to get myself some more of.
I did boost the Mets, though. Some of the players that got boosted with that are now not in the lineup. Looks like they're starting a different catcher with Hayden Sanger. So I'm actually trying to figure that out right now.
Who is
the
that?
Mets would be what was that?
I don't even know who that is.
Well, he's playing. I have to
for a
actually put his
living.
name into my sheet now, so that's what I'm going to figure out who he is as well. But that's the only one that I boosted. Everything else I kind of got naturally. So I'm curious to hear who you're boosting.
Yeah, Hayden Sanger. Oh, he's never had an at bat. That might be why
Good.
I've never heard of him.
So he's not going to add much value to put him in my sheet anyway. Good.
Does it say he's seen 4 pitches? So he's seen 1 at bat in his major league career as a 28-year-old. Great.
Yeah, and he did not get on base. did not strike out, I don't think, but did not get on base.
Hey! Oh no, he has 100% K rate.
Oh, never mind. Oh yeah, so I looked the wrong way. Yeah, there you go. Good for him.
He's a loser. Absolute loser. He struck out his lone at bat. Yeah, just saw that. That's so insane. Old as hell making his debut. Why wouldn't the team that just spent infinity dollars for Juan Soto start a guy that's never played baseball at 28 at the major league level? The Mets, what a poverty franchise, even though they're anti-poverty, which is the irony of it. The team that I'm getting to, that I'm boosting, it is the one, the only Tampa Bay Rays. I get Paul Skeens is awesome. There's no doubt. This game environment has to be kind of encapsulated. And if you go to the Sims tool and you look at the stack ROI, one thing that you're going to remember from now until the end of time is these 5-man stacks, like this little corner over here. You're not going to get many of them made here with Tampa Bay. Just 57 of my 5,000 have 5-man Tampa Bay stacks, but they're going to traditionally be some of the best 5-man stack ROIs. They're not going to work out a large majority of the time, but the times that they do, you're really going to get paid. And I do look at this too, the 3-man stack that we're getting here, where you're rolling in some Tampa Bay guys. I like 5-3s with Tampa Bay as the secondary quite a bit here today. You get power bats with Lau. You get some guys that have some speed. Obviously, what's his face that's been cleaned up and just like crazy popular every single slate? This Jake Mangum human being, Junior Caminero, who had an unbelievable spring from the Dominican Republic. He was sitting out there just hitting bombs on the underdog MLB slate. It was good stuff, but you look at this Tampa Bay team, it's more so the game environment because we do not expect Skeens to get completely lit up. But if he doesn't go 6 innings, you get at least 3-4 innings of this Pittsburgh bullpen. And let me tell you, Spags, I don't think it's going to be good at all.
I think it's a reasonable approach to have. I mean, obviously, if you get Skeens out early, and this is a team that gets on base pretty well, 340 on base percentage versus righties. So a little bit of that's inflated by Mangum and a small sample size stuff. But yeah, I'm with you on that conceptually. Like anytime you're going to get leverage against the pitcher, we didn't see it quite hit all the way versus Miami in opening day, but I think versus Skeens here, you try to get leverage. It's worth some shots, even if you shouldn't make Tampa Bay shouldn't be a big part of your portfolio, but you get some shots in a 20 max, 150 max. I think that looks a little bit better.
So we've talked about Washington. I'm playing a lot of them. Spags is playing a lot of the Mets. We're boosting some of the contrarian stacks against good pitchers purely because you're getting that leverage. How about some of the stacks that you aren't as high on? There's a couple that are pulling quite a bit of ownership. Obviously, I removed Minnesota and the White Sox. If you get Minnesota at 7%, that would be awesome. And hopefully some stuff ends up showing up. We got Schmevin Schmop throwing out that St. Louis looks pretty good. So almost like the exact same time frame that I threw out there without his help. So that makes me feel like a weather sharp. Weather sharks unite, go me. But any stacks that you're not as high on that are showing up here in the top stacks tool as over-owned for you?
Yeah, so I didn't change the weather at all didn't downgrade anybody for the weather in Minnesota White Sox today. It does seem like Minnesota a top 6 stack according to the top stacks tool. I didn't get any of these guys. I got 1% 5-man stacks, 1% 3-man stacks in the 150 lineups I built for the show. So I'm not there. Of course, I do like Sean Burke. I think he's got some decent talent, even though he's not a world beater and doesn't stand out quite as much as he did on that first slate. But I think he's an okay pitcher here. So I'm okay not getting Minnesota now when you add the weather stuff on top. That said, I'm playing Pablo Lopez, so it's not really a weather thing for me. I just don't think Minnesota looks that good. And I'm not saying that to try to hurt you specifically, Eric.
No, it's okay. I'm hurt enough by their existence. Like they're just idiots every year, man, every year. Last year, 3 teams in the AL Central make the playoffs. Minnesota can't be one of them, really? That's how we're going to do things? We're going to have Cleveland and Detroit. Who lives in Cleveland and Detroit? Oh, yeah, we have Rich Green on the projections team. Love you, Rich. Yeah. Sorry.
And a lot of cars in Detroit, too.
Lots of cars in Detroit. Yeah. And I mean, Eminem doesn't live in Detroit still, does he? There's no way.
He might live in a suburb. He probably doesn't live in Detroit proper, I would think, but he might live in a
Yeah,
suburb. So.
lives in one of those fancy hills, blank hills. Oakland Hills, I think, is the really fancy spot there of Detroit. I played
That
golf
sounds
there
right.
once.
I don't think he left Detroit. I think he's ride or die.
Okay, he's ride or die. Yeah, he wore a Detroit Lions jersey one time and cheered for the Lions. So yeah, he's got Detroit through and through. That's the
Okay. Where does Eminem? Now we have to look it up. I don't think Eminem is uncredible in this way or discreditable.
No way he still lives in Detroit. I refuse to believe. Yeah, he's still on 8 Mile. No, he's not.
He's on an 8 Mile. I don't think would be the case.
His palms are not sweaty. His arms are not weak. His arms are not heavy. There's not vomit on his sweater. Maybe like.
He has two Michigan mansions. One of them is his longtime estate in Detroit proper. So he's in fact very Detroit and probably owns the most expensive property in Detroit that doesn't belong to an athlete.
Somebody said move to Connecticut. That would be wild. What a choice that would be.
That would not fit Eminem, I don't think.
I don't think that would be absolutely wild. I do wonder if his mom's spaghetti was good.
Probably not. Seemed like probably white trash ass spaghetti with ketchup on it.
Let's talk some individual bets. Kyber Ruiz, obviously going to be somebody who's showing up a ton for me here. We've got Wilson Contreras here on the St. Louis side. I think St. Louis is still an interesting stack. Anytime I can go up against Yusei Kikuchi, I'm going to try to take opportunities to do it. We do have Brandon Lau, Aranda, guys who are pulling average simulated ROIs that are a little bit higher. So some of those Tampa Bay pieces I was talking about. Is there any batter that you've got that's showing out in some kind of a way? Because it's not the most interesting thing to talk about, but I mean, as we're kind of like building out single entry lineups, as we're building out stuff by hand here and like the single lineup simulator, which I can pull up now, I do think that there's some interesting talking points because, well, we don't really have expensive bats to go up and get outside of Soto and Tucker.
Yeah, I got a lot of Washington guys. I mean, for St. Louis, I got Newt Bar at 21%, so that's 3x the field. Definitely my biggest field stands on individual bats are Washington and St. Louis. With Washington, though, I got every player above 10%. And most of them above 15%. My highest exposed guys, CJ Abrams hitting the one hole, 27% sim exposure to him. Paul DeJong got 31% of him in the back part of that order for Washington. Keibert Ruiz, who you mentioned, got him at 29%. Really big stands on Washington, but we've talked enough about Easton Lucas and how we don't think he has very much. Sims is also pushing it there. So you're getting Washington a good amount. Seems like the big stand for me, like all red on my sheet because of how high the ownership is, which definitely feeling a little bit overexposed to Washington.
I'm always feeling overexposed. Everybody hit that like button, though, so we can expose Spags and the puppet as we get out of here in 7 minutes. I'm sure he'll expose himself because he normally does. He's a cheeky bastard, quite literally, that puppet Lindquist. But is what it is, friends, is what it is. Hit the like button as we get ourselves to what we like to call the dong of the day. But for the time being, because it is what we've got, Nuke of the night. Start bringing up individual batters because it's very important to figure out who is going to be going yard in our lineups today as we round out our program. We're getting close to the finish line, 6 minutes to go. If you have any questions, throw them in. But Spags, the people need to know who's going yah this afternoon.
So I will give the caveat that the 2 times I've picked a dong of the night or dong of the day, I suppose, for today's slate, in the last 2 shows I've done to start the year, it has been the player next to them in the batting order that has hit a home run at the time. So feeling good about my start here. I think I'm going to go to Washington. I think I'm going to go to the man that I presume the Family Guy High School is named after in the show, James Wood. Actually, that's James Wood crushing lately. It is lefty, but Easton Lucas really bad versus lefties in a way you don't often see for a lefty pitcher. Small sample size again, but given up only a 17% K rate, 404 batting average. Not that matters on a 40 at bat sample size, but a 220 ISO, some dangerous power. Wood does have an 11% barreled ball rate. It's the highest on the team. 53% hard hit rate. That's also the highest on Washington as well. So if I'm going to be this chalky on Washington, I've got a lot of wood. Anyway, is Puppet Lindquist talking here? I got a lot of wood. James Wood is my dong pick for today.
What the fuck just happened?
The phrase "I've got a lot of wood" couldn't come out of my mouth without laughing.
Just grab the puppet now. Just get it out of the way. Just do it. You know you want to. Just do it.
Here on Puppet Lindy's Creams, Lines, and Cocks, we got James. Holy shit. We got James Wood. Head the dog pick of the day, baby. Let's get it going. Wow. Wow. There you go.
Lindy's what, and what?
Lindy's Creams, Lines, because you're still doing lines. And Cocks is what. So it came from the stream yesterday, Eric, and now it's stuck in my head. So that's the bit.
I should have waited until like a minute before the end of the show, because now I have to spend 5 more minutes in this room with you before we turn things over to playback.tv/Stokastic. Head to Playback Friends. Spend time with Greg Ehrenberg and Loft. You are going to be very professional and surely are not, saying things that rhyme with locks.
I mean, James Wood, perfect fit for that video, though, that video segment.
It is 9:56 a.m. in the morning.
It's not appropriate timing, I guess, for that joke. It's literally been in my head since I said it on stream yesterday, just pure improv, and now it's like maybe it should be a video series. I don't think it would get as many clicks as you do these days, but
I think it would do better, unfortunately, for both of us. I mean, you're the one who has to do the work on it, but I think the character has already sold itself. Guys, throw your home run picks in here. I would love to see.
Who's yours?
Put it in writing. What?
Who's yours?
Oh, you got to get my pick. You got to get mine.
You can't take my wood and not give me yours.
Screw it. Let's get way off the board. And I know that these are guys that generally aren't going to be working out on the long term here, but it's not the Jake Mangum that we're going to be looking at. If there is one man that is going to be capable of taking Paul Skeens' yard, wind blowing out to left, 90 degrees, humidity out there in Florida, Junior Caminero is going to go yard. Cleanup hitter here for the Tampa Bay Rays against Paul Skeens. I really Skeens mother trucker like going and getting that bomb. That would be nice. Luke and Baker, somebody threw into the chat. Seth Brown, I don't mind that shout out whatsoever. Anything else that we have covering here? No. Okay. Let's recap for the people. Favorite tournament pitchers on today's slate, Spags.
Still Pablo Lopez. I'll die on the weather hill, but if not him, I got to think who would be a pivot point for that. I'd say Cole Ragans, if not Pablo Lopez. I like my guys. Ragans' price didn't come up after a nice day last time out. I think the matchup is equally good. So Pablo for sure, but if you're afraid of the weather, Cole Ragans.
Yeah, I'm going to boost Jeffrey Springs now. I've decided. Spag said it was okay that I did that, so we're going to get to a little bit of him for tournaments. Ryan Pepio, I get the weather environment is very good for hitting there in Tampa relative to every other place on the slate, but also it's the Pittsburgh Pirates, and there are some strikeouts to be had. Paul Skeens streak Scooball rightfully pulling ownership, but this is a really good day if you're playing 150 or even 20 max, not playing more than 35-40% of any pitcher. That's really what's showing out here in the Sims, is getting to a lot of these guys taking shots because somebody's going to go for 9-10 strikeouts. I think Scooball and Skeens are your most likely guys to do it, but so does everybody else. I think getting to a lot of this mid-range definitely makes some sense. Favorite tournament stacks to be getting to, Spags, for today?
Mets, Washington, St. Louis, I think, which are all fairly obvious. And that's one I guess you kind of have to work your way to. So I'll go out your rating. I think Washington, St. Louis, if you're running the sim, you're going to get those naturally enough.
Tons of Washington in the Sims, as I would be doing anyway. Easton Lucas is the name. I think Easton is like a bat company. And just it's ironic that they're going to put bat on ball against that guy. It's going to go very far. Dylan Cruz, another saucy little home run pick. People throwing out Tyler Soderstrom. Junior is a spicy pick. I like the spicy meatball. It feels good. Feels really good. Feeling good. Feeling great. Feeling great. Feeling good. How are you? I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me at Eric Lindquist. You can follow Chris Spags at Chris Spags. Tell the people where to find you elsewhere when you're doing your puppetry.
Oh, yeah. You can check out the video I did yesterday if you want to see the puppet do an hour, which was really tough on my voice and mentally. You can check it. It's actually now the at Splash Play Bets channel because I had to come up with another name because I'm going to do MLB on there too at some point. Yeah. But you can go to NBA too. You'll find it at Splash Play NBA or at Splash Play Bets. Watch that video if you want to kill an hour a day because there's not real DFS content coming on. Go to Playback first and foremost, but watch the puppet do bits. I don't get to do puppetry for an hour very often, Eric. It might shock you to hear.
It does. Here's the problem is that I've seen this for years and years and years now, 5 years. I'm just kind of used to him. He's a part of me. It's like the Harry Potter thing. A piece of him lives within me, doesn't it?
My heart will go on near, far,
Goodbye, everyone. Good luck today. Go to playback.tv/Stokastic, throw it into the chat. God help us all.